Oh, what is going on, YouTube? I am Germ here. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about this recent Reddit post that I saw on the League of Legends main subreddit called Vitality's Offseason Building Around Bo. Now, Bo, for most people, and probably myself, is the most interesting, most exciting, most anticipated player that a lot of people want to see play in 2023 because there's so many questions surrounding him. He's so new, he's so unique, he's so interesting. He could be amazing, he could underdeliver, he could underperform, or he could perhaps be the best player in the LEC. Now, obviously, there's a lot of players and new rosters and new teams and lineups that people are excited for, but a lot of these same old faces in the LEC we've seen, before, but they're going to be on a new org or a new team, new roster, whatever. But Bo, we haven't seen in the West before. We have not seen him like this, and he's so interesting, so exciting. And I mean, part of the reason is he keeps doing stuff like this. This is a recent Reddit post. The video got deleted, but still, the Reddit post kind of shows you what's going on. Vitality Bo, insane game, 28-2 as Diana in highest challenger. And like this guy in solo queue, he's just a different beast. Like he really is plays solo queue like we don't see any other professional players in the West playing solo queue. He is dropping nukes, 20, 22, 25, 30 kill games so consistently in Challenger and High Challenger wherever he goes, whether he's playing in China and Korea, whether he's playing in NA, EU, whatever. Like this guy is just insane. He's just popping off. And again, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be able to translate to the professional level, but he's played some professional games in the LPL before. He's played, in the LDL before, and he's been pretty insane. He's been pretty crazy. He's a hyped up talent. He's a hyped up prospect, and Vitality had this recently, this news in France, Esports League of Legends Vitality rebuilt around Bo. This article, where they did talk to, I believe, the Vitality owner or maybe GM or something. They interviewed the GM and the owner about how and why they built the team. They did this offseason around Bo. I was tempering my expectation for Bo a bit, but it's hard to not be hyped when they're investing this much into playing around him. And again, they say, hey, here's the English translated version, but I believe it's in French. There's lots of mistranslations and stuff. So this guy summed up this article kind of nice. So I wanted to go over some of these points and share this info with you guys. So pretty much last year, Vitality feels like they were too focused on getting the biggest names, Alphari, Self-Made, Perkz, Carzzy. Labrov wasn't the biggest name, but those four, they were pretty big names in the LEC, especially with the year that Carzzy was coming off of. Self-Made, Perkz, Alphari, we know the stories there. These are very, very big names. Last year, they felt like they were too focused on just getting the big names. This year, they were more focused on building the right team around Bo as the carry. Now, that's pretty interesting because obviously Perkz, in his own right, and throughout his whole career, has been a big carry, has been a big leader, has been a guy who has led his teams. And teams have been built around Perkz a lot of the times, and Vitality has that kind of player on their team, a franchise player, and they're building around Bo. This really shows how much trust the team has in Bo, but also how good they believe he is, but also how much the other teammates, and especially Perkz, how much he trusts Bo. Because if he is willing to, build the team around somebody else, he must really believe in them. He must really see something in them. Because again, Perkz could have left Vitality. Perkz could have had offers to go a million other places. Perkz could have said, hey, no, I don't want to play with Bo. I want to play with XYZ jungler. So this is very, very interesting. It's also very high praises. Vitality was receiving inquiries about Bo this offseason from many teams, including G2. So there was a world where Bo potentially could have been the new G2 jungler replacing Jankos, but again, I do not think there's any world where Vitality was going to be giving up Bo. I think Vitality was incredibly lucky in the first place to even end up with him, because from what I've heard, he should have and probably, he could have and probably should have ended up at TSM. That's where all the signs were pointing, and it was just kind of weird how few teams were interested in Bo at that time. Vitality kind of gets lucky, ends up with them. I don't think they're immediately going to trade with G2 before they even get to see how good he is in the LEC or anything like that. They chose Carter as their coach over Korean and Chinese candidates, which again is interesting because they're going to be going with a Korean top laner, a Chinese jungler. So they have some Eastern, parts to their lineup, and they also have some cultural differences and language barriers and all this stuff. So, maybe an Eastern coach could help bridge some of those gaps, but they decided to go with Carter. They're also choosing Kaiser because of his ability to play around his jungler. Again, that is super, super great. They're trying to go around Bo. Kaiser sounds like he's going to be all over the map, really enabling Bo to play as aggressive and crazy as he wants, and also help him carry games by putting more resources into him. they chose Neon and Photon as players that can hold their lanes well. Now, again, I don't know much about Photon. I heard he's a beast. I'm sure he's going to be really, really good. I don't know really what his playstyle is. I don't know if he can hold his lane, whatever. But I do know that Neon does seem to fit into this lineup and this playstyle really, really well, because last year, he was on Misfits, where so much of the gold and resources and everything is going into VTO, and so much of the attention is going away from bot lane and towards mid lane, especially in the mid to late game. So Neon has proved that he can be a pretty significant and pretty consistent, reliable carry, even without getting a ton of resources, even without getting a ton of attention. And it sounds like that might be the perfect AD carry for this team. Now, hey, that does mean that they need Neon to keep up the form that he showed last year and have another good year in 2023. But at least on paper, I think Neon could be really like the perfect AD carry for this team. And again, I don't know much about Photon. We'll see how that works out, but they kind of see the same things in him. Perkz is responsible for leading the team in a unified direction and bridging the gap between the clash of Bo's aggressiveness and EU's more laid-back style. I do hope that they, take advantage of Bo's aggressiveness and Bo's craziness and play a more fast and up-tempo style. I hope they don't, try and rein him in or try and change things up if he has a couple bad or unsuccessful games or ends away some leads or something like that. I hope they do that, but we'll have to wait and see. It's easier to say you're going to do it than it is to actually do it. And this year, the focus is for the team to improve and progress over time. Unlike last year, they're expected to win everything out of the gate. And again, I think that's way better. I also think that's way more possible this year with the 3 splits, with the best of 3s, with the more games being played overall. And I don't know, me personally, I am so excited to not only see Bo play, but to see this entire Vitality lineup play in 2023, because I think people were already pretty hyped up for Vitality last year. They ended up being a big flop. I think that this year's Vitality team is way better than last year's Vitality team. So if you were excited for last year's Vitality team, you got to get hyped up for this year's. I can't wait to watch them. I think it's going to be a ton of fun, and I hope they have a ton of success, but you never really know. Again, the game isn't played on paper. It's played on the Rift. We'll have to wait and see. But that's pretty much it for this video today, guys. Hopefully I catch you in the next one. But until then, peace.